I know it's life, and that every day that passes you're getting old, but those wrinkles on your face and hands are really starting to show. I mean, I know they've always been there, but I never bothered to know how much your appearance has changed from the day you were born. Obviously, you're not going to look the same, and soon you're going to have some brittle bones. I'm scared that in time you're going to forget who I am and be put in a home. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I need to address just how much you've grown. From chasing us around the yard to needing help getting up and now you're sold. Yours are starting to slip, you're losing some posture, not to mention you're very close. Nails on your legs from all those hours of work. Next thing you know, you're going to need one of those walkers to get out of bed and out the door. The other day after you got home, you asked if I could take you to the store. I said of course, as we drove down the road and you went in to buy more of that hair dye stuff so that your hair can have its natural color restored. Every time you put it on, you feel happy, but I also wonder just how long you can keep this up before your time is up and I'm able to see it without its cloak. It bothers me to see you go through this once it grows and it just begins to show just how wide your roots truly are and the whole cycle begins all over. Throughout your life, you've had a place to sleep but not one to actually call home. You've lived in so many houses trying to provide your kids with the best choice. Just know that it was, and now it's our job to thank you for it. You've been through so much in life, and it's the reason why you're so strong. Growing up, I had no idea what you'd been through and what was wrong. The one thing I remember is hearing you cry in the bathroom because your husband's answers were false. He always walked around commanding respect from you, acting like he was the boss. But he always took it too far, and what happened next was the police were called. Once he was released, he'd come back saying he was a changed man, and all it did was make you rethink who he was. It was a mistake, but we all have flaws. Except that one time he hit you and you fell on the floor. Now that wasn't your fault. That's 3 times that I know of now, and the most recent is when I picked you up from the floor. That's another story. I'm still discovering what you've lived through is an awful lot. After I found out about this, I questioned why you never left. Why the stress? If it was me, I would have kicked his ass out and done it with one breath. Maybe it's because those bruises on your face and the pain he caused you ignited fear. But that's not why you never left. When I asked you, you made it very clear. Yeah, marriages are hard, they're not easy, but that's no excuse to leave. Plus, you come from a family where you don't divorce and have kids with another man. You stick with one person, even if your lives didn't exactly go as planned. That's when I realized why he always stuck around, fighting to make it work out. Regardless of all the arguments you guys had or how bad things were going down, I guess you guys had some okay moments when he wasn't hoping you would drown. But your marriage was just a start. Next came the child which you would hold dear to your heart. Who would have known something like this could happen? Luckily, it was to you, someone who would take action. Even from the very beginning, this was a task you accepted, knowing very well your life would be a little hectic. But that's an understatement and far from reality, because as time went out, it wouldn't be reality. It even started to turn into something where you would both end up praying just to not lose your sense of sanity. So many tears you shed, so many years you slept with the hope that the disease wouldn't spread. And for all the time you spent caring for him, know that despite everything that happened, it wasn't your mess. The table would be full of pills for him to digest. Plus, you still had other kids to raise and teach them respect. At the beginning, it wasn't complete chaos, you could still rest. But as the years slowly came to progress, the more you find yourself having to wake up early with barely any sleep to make sure your son was alive and fed. Your disabled son became your number one priority. Not to say your other children would be prone to neglect, but as we all got older and needed a little less attention, he became the main source of why you always stressed. I hope you wake up every day knowing you did the best you could considering the alternative. And hopefully with a bit, or maybe a lot of luck, you can live your life knowing that you guided him throughout his time in prison. Because after all, this is just a small glimpse into your beautiful soul. I can never fathom how much of an angel you truly are. Even as I write this, no one will comprehend what I just wrote, because unless they make you, they won't know the person you have mold. You cared and loved and held his hand throughout it all. You did that for him for almost 26 years, because that's as far as he got. Only a person with that amount of love inside could have done what you did and been at his side throughout his lifelong demise. But before life seemed like it would have stopped collapsing, growing up when we were younger, things were such a bad dream. I remember when I was a little kid with my brother since our casa was small, you would wash us both while we were in the shower. Every single day you fed us and made sure we had food in our stomach, always cooked. You never starved, you kept up the roof. You did that for us because you loved us. Throughout our lives you protected us, and for years you did that regardless of your own troubles. Fast forward a few years later, when I can remember more clearly, we walked to the middle of town to go buy some groceries. I had a bike that I would ride right alongside you. It was really cool. A Saturday morning we'd leave early before the sun would produce its strong heat waves and it would be too much to walk. We'd be gone a few hours, but we wouldn't buy a lot. Just what we needed: eggs, milk, bread, tortillas, cereal. Then I'd spot a candy bar that I really want. But you would always say no. I'd complain, you would tell me to stop, but a piece of you was soft. You said once my attitude was dropped, you would buy me what I want, with a slip of paper that was worth $1. I would lift the stick out of its box. A paleta payaso was the shit. It's because of you that I was a happy kid. Once we were done, I'd put it back on each handlebar. Then halfway, we'd eventually take a break at the park. By then, we would start to feel the exhaust. Luckily, we didn't have much left, just a little bit farther. It never dawned on me to ask why you didn't drive a car. We either walked or called the bus. It was $175 a charge. When school started, it was time to cut our hair. Since it was 3 of us outside in the patio, you would put a chair. One by one, we would all go outside and you say, sit right there. Our haircuts were all the same when we looked in the mirror. It took a bit for each of us and the machine would get hot. I would sit on the chair bored while the temp would drop. After a few hours when we were finally done, although at the time I hated it, I never realized it was actually love. Next came the time when it was all over and it was summer vacation. My little sister and I would have to learn multiplication. We would all sit on the couch and practice add and subtract, divide, multiply, but to be honest, I was never good at math. When it came time to study, you were always patient. I can't recall a time where you were ever anxious. But me on the other hand felt different because it was all the same shit. Part of me would lose focus after learning the basics. But all of that lasted only a while, a month or so maybe. Then I'd grab a VHS tape, press play, and crack a smile. We would always feel that we could be ourselves. Even though we'd fuck up at times, Dad would carry a hard belt. You had it in you to be strict but fair, compared to Dad who would walk in and we'd feel a sense of tense in the air. Overall, you had no problem keeping us in check. When shit went down, you knew exactly how to clean up the mess. And for that, the entire family was blessed. All we can do is say thank you and that we love you no less. Almost forgot to mention all the times we got injured. But I'll keep it short as long as you're able to get the picture. When it came to getting hurt, I was always prone. Like the time I jumped over the brick wall and wrecked my toe. I walked inside the house with a little limp in the hopes that you wouldn't see. Slowly I went to my room and shut the door. But a few seconds later you came in and went, "Oh, what happened to you?" I said I was fine, but then I groaned. You started to massage my foot hole. You worked your way through until I couldn't take it no more. That's when you grabbed it and moved, and I said, "Don't!" But it was too late because the pain was no joke. I started to cry, I started to sob. And it wasn't a little bit either. Holy smokes, it was an awful lot. From the outside it didn't seem like much, but on the inside my heart wanted to burst through my chest and jaw. You rubbed some cream on it and found something that you could use to wrap. After the whole ordeal, we had ourselves a little laugh. Not to mention my little sister witnessed the entirety of the act. Her older brother all dirty, sweaty, crying. Man, I probably looked like trash. You even encouraged us to read, even though our interests weren't always on topics that were PG. When it came to Harry Potter, Dad called it witchcraft and that it was for the devil, but you told us to hide them at least. And so that was life. Another year came and went, another check was earned and spent. As the time went by, you kept us sheltered, and always paid the rent and never expected anything in return. Then one morning you woke up and went outside and read on the driveway was a brand new, well-used, but new to me Honda. My first ever car. You were skeptical with several questions and of course you started to think that it was a mistake. You were strung up with all these thoughts that it was impossible. That what you were looking at was real, but in the end it was something awesome. At 56 you couldn't believe your eyes. Every time you climbed inside you looked everywhere and began to scrutinize, touching this, touching that, the windows going up and down. In your mind you were amazed. You were asking yourself, how? All of this lasted a few months. After a while I decided to pop the question, "Mom, do you want to drive?" You were scared, nervous, happy, and shy. You had never been behind a wheel in the entirety of your life. So there we were, in an empty parking lot during wintertime, with only an hour left before we would no longer have any light. You jumped in the seat, you put your seatbelt on and made sure the mirrors were aligned. You're a short woman, so I had to adjust the seat to your height. Oh, and your blind spot, always check behind. With that in mind, you put your foot on the gas pedal and the stick began to rise. Both hands on the wheel and one drop of sweat, you miraculously reached 5. "You can go a little faster, you know," I said. "Nope, right here I'm fine." Well, at this rate, we're gonna be here all day. Once we reach the other side, I wanted to do one more lap and then on the way back, go right. When I thought you were getting bored, I decided to turn it up a notch. I took you to an empty lot with a store nearby with some traffic for you to watch. Every single time a car got close, you began to panic. I would always calm you down and then you were fine. We're gonna pass at least 4 or 5 on average. But with your speed still going no more than 5, some horns began to call. Yet you still refused to speed up, saying, "No, what if I crash? It'll all be my fault." I guess I do believe in miracles, because one day a miracle spawned. It was just another day of practice, pero de repente all the doors locked. My ears didn't believe the sound of the click, so I checked the display. After some disbelief at me showing her what happened, we both saw fate. The exhaust suddenly turned to a fire-breathing dragon and she began to drift. Nah, I'm just playing. It was probably no more than 10, but you get the gist. With her turning on point and the car no longer a complete snail, my soda pop and cup holder, I said, "Now it's time for you to park in that spot." Complete concentration and a single word in the chilly air not, the wheels entered between the lines, slowly moving forward towards the border. I said stop. After a moment of letting go of the tension and the anxiety began to drop. The only audible sound was the buzz of the motor and 2 hands that began to applaud. "See, that wasn't so bad," she said. "It wasn't, but now it's time to do it in reverse." Oh god. But don't worry, with practice and time you'll do it with no problem. We're still in the reverse space as I write this, but hey, just know that every time she goes behind the wheel, some real authentic progress is made. I sometimes wonder if the idea that she could drive to her was just a thought. Well, if it was, I wanted to know that now it's no longer lost. To this day, I take her out to these deserted fields so she can go fast. It always starts the same. She turns on the car and I say, "Come on, give it some gas." However, we still have to be careful since she isn't licensed. But all that time we spent together flying at 65 miles through the air is priceless. I think we both now share the same dream and I'm excited for the day that we can drive on the highway without the driver sat in complete silence. With the sun on the horizon, I turn on the headlights because it's time to go home, says the mom. We'll be back tomorrow, get to practice some more, or maybe not. Lately, we've had to put out driving for some time now and everything's on pause. Even though you went back to work, I'm going to ask you if you want to give it a shot. And you always say the same thing, that you're tired, and I understand. Usually it's 8, but those 12 hours have been in extremely high demand. At 3:30 in the morning, your phone rings. You get up, head to the kitchen to make your lunch and have something to eat. Now it's time for you to get dressed, put on your steel-toe boots, yellow vest, on top of a few layers and top it off with the helmet. You stand outside and wait for your ride home, but he's not late. Your phone never rings. Oh great, he's not coming. You go inside and wake me up. I say, "What happened?" You explain. Now in a hurry, we get in the car, let it warm up a bit, and we take off. About an hour later, we arrive. We say goodbye. You clock in, step us at the conveyor belt, store product till about like 6 p.m. on the way back. You have a ride. With all your energy completely depleted, you can't wait to come home and call it a night. You walk up the driveway, put the key in the door, it opens. You set your lunchbox down and begin to take off extra layers of clothes. You walk in the kitchen and open the stove. Inside you find baked potatoes and on top some dishes already cooked to warm. We cooked you a little something while you weren't home. Enjoy. Now all you gotta do is rest, take a shower, get in your bed and just snore. When Sunday arrives you finally see the sun, it's your one day off. But you still got things to do like grocery shop and the laundry. Sometimes I'll take you to the movies where the seats shiver and the speakers buzz. When we leave I joke and say, now for the club. Afterwards we'll visit the cemetery for a little time we have left. We sit there and reminisce on the good times and then comes the part where the fun all ends. We go back home, you're in bed, ready to start the whole cycle all over again. You live to talk about your wife and your friends. You wanted to have a yard and to be filled with several flower beds. We drive around town and look at that one and the next. Ooh, that one is really nice. Yeah, it is, but it's for rent. We do this a lot, always searching for the best. We'll be moving out soon so as to fit our range of expense. And that's why you've been working so hard, it's still causing you stress. But we're always in the mirror to help you and make you less. I know it caused you a lot of strain that early morning when Dad waved goodbye and once and for all went his way. We sat on that couch with the feeling of dismay. Every outburst he had, you were to blame, but you were never responsible for his behavior. On that couch, you said you married someone thinking you'll be with them forever. But why settle for someone who tells you down every single day until you surrender? As of today, I can promise you that it can only get better. It has to, because after everything, we all need to stick together. And lastly, I needed to thank you because you're the reason I graduated. The day you held my diploma and looked at me and said, I'm glad you made it.